Welcome to Idea Shares Radio with Brian Church and Les Stouter. Whether you and your ideas are starting out, growing up, or moving on, Brian and Les can point you in the right direction. Now, here they are, the experts behind Idea Shares Radio, Brian Church and Les Stouter.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Idea Shares Radio, folks. We are the nation's airwave incubator for entrepreneurs, innovators, and closely held business owners. Welcome to the show. Sitting here next to me, to my left, my good friend, faithful co-founder, cohort, co-troublemaker of IdeaShares.com, Les Stouter. Say hello, Les.
Hello, Les. And I'll be curious to see what that morphs into in about 3 years' time, the intro.
God knows. Look, man, we've been together for, 12 years, I think, doing business together. And we started something called Aslan many years ago, where we were helping people, diligently protecting the rights of the inventor and the entrepreneur. And all of this has morphed into what we're doing today.
That's right.
And, man, I'm excited. We're in Las Vegas. We're in Spokane. We're in Dallas. We're in Charlotte, looking at Dublin, hopefully Birmingham here soon. Of course, Nashville, Tennessee. And the Idea Shares Nation grows.
That's right. The dominoes fall.
Yeah. And, what's cool about this? This isn't about us. This is really about you. That's the reason why we started the company, IdeaShares.com. That's why we started this radio show. This is really to help you and empower you for whatever that next idea is. Folks, you all have an idea. I think we used to say is 1.8 out of every 4 Americans has an idea. Whatever. I think everybody's got an idea. Now, do you have a good idea? I don't know. Craig, our engineer's back there going, I don't know. But hey, you have an idea. And there are certain entrepreneurial rights, and that's what I'm going to kick the show off with today, because there are entrepreneurial rights that you have. And the first one is my idea viable? But you all have ideas. And the reason why we created the show, the reason why we created IdeaShares.com is to help you come out of the shadows. I don't care if it's your first idea, your first business, it's your 10th business, but you have the right to be empowered. You have the right to be organized. You have the right to a good team. And all of these different things that we believe in. And we can't just empower you through a radio show, but that's why we create software tools too. At IdeaShares.com, you can try out the IdeaSphere, which I'll talk about in just a second. But we want to empower you. Couple things. House cleaning, okay? Just before I go off on a rampage here.
No, you're going well. I hate to see you break it.
I got a lot of energy. I got a lot of energy today, buddy. We got a lot to get through. We got an amazing show, too, but a couple house cleaning issues. We got Mitch Jaffe, okay, who's going to be calling in, and he's out of Atlanta, and he's got one of the world's top food accelerators. And you're thinking, what the heck is a food accelerator? Well, you know what an incubator is. You know what an accelerator is. I'm going to tell you what a food accelerator is today. So this guy is a master entrepreneur, and Mitch Jaffe is going to be calling in here after the next couple of segments and joining us on the latter part of the show. So you don't want to miss that, so please don't miss out. But we're going to talk about entrepreneurial rights at the first part of our segment today. We're also going to, of course, celebrate the highest scores on the IdeaSphere, and then we're going to have a need-to-know segment from Les in the second part. And a couple other things, folks. Look, this show is built on what you want to hear, the questions that you ask, and what you want to get from us. So please don't ever hesitate to email us at Brian, that's with an I, at IdeaShares.com, or Les. If you have complaints, send them to Les.
With an S.
Less is more, one S, Les at IdeaShares.com. And please always follow us on Twitter at IdeaShares.
Very good. Or alternatively, scroll to the bottom of the homepage at IdeaShares.com, leave a name, and leave whatever else you want comment-wise. Just keep it clean and pithy, hopefully.
Yeah, and make sure, you can go back and listen to any of the podcasts. If you go to the site, Les is a regular contributor to the Huffington Post, as well as other wonderful information sources that are out there on the blogosphere. But you can get all of his content and, of course, the ISN members' content and other amazing folks. You can get all of that at IdeaShares.com.
Yeah, I usually do a best-of series sometimes with the blogs. So you get content on our site you're not going to find anywhere else.
Well, I've had 12 years of the best of, so.
That's going to take a while.
My ears are permanent. My eyes are permanently stained. So
some things you just can't forget, right?
Absolutely. But folks, so here's what we're going to talk about today. conservatively speaking, there's 50 million new entrepreneurs that are coming online in the next 10 years. And many people say, well, where do you get that number? And I am thinking conservatively it's 50 million. And so here's where I get some of this information. First off, we like to go and grab info from Kauffman. If you've ever gone to Kauffman.com, incredible resource for information, has anything to do with the economy, entrepreneurial numbers.
The Kauffman Index.
The Kauffman Index, growth. But get this, entrepreneurial numbers here, 330 new entrepreneurs per every 100,000 citizens per month. Okay, that's the entrepreneurial growth that we're experiencing right now. All right, so that's 330 new entrepreneurs per every 100,000 citizens per month. That's up 16% over the last 2 years. But if you look at those numbers, we're conservatively looking at about 50 million new entrepreneurs over the next 10 years. But look at some of the other things that we talk about. We talk about displacement, okay? Displacement because of technology. There's 15 million jobs in Europe and 30 million jobs plus in the U.S. that are going away over the next 10 to 15 years, and they ain't coming back. All right, so we're not telling you this to scare you, but if you're thinking entrepreneurially today, probably a smart move, okay? Not to say that there won't be jobs, right? All right, but there may be a different kind of job. And it's going to probably be a part of the U economy, as we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be a 30-year 9-to-5 with a pension involved either.
Bingo, right? So the U economy means working on your own behalf, or working on your own accord, or working on your terms, right? Sometimes that's entrepreneurially, sometimes it's not. But if you look at the U economy, 1/3 of U.S. adults have already worked and earned income in the U economy. 47 more U.S. adults join the U economy in the next 5 years. 47 million more U.S. adults join the U economy in the next 5 years. This is a quote from Cisco, from the CEO of Cisco. In the next 10 years, digitization will change everything. 40% of companies will cease to exist, and more than half of the company models that you see today will cease to be relevant. All right, again, this isn't fear-mongering, but if you're not thinking entrepreneurially, you might want to. And again, why we have this show, why we have ideashares.com, why we built the Ideasphere as our first initial launch of a digital product to help empower entrepreneurs is not for fear-mongering, but because we want to empower you.
That's right. The world has never seen the digital age as it is today. We've seen a variety of the machine age occurrences and iterations through the years, and mechanized manufacturing. It's been one thing after another over the course of the last century. But this is the first time in human history that we've ever been here.
Yeah. Absolutely. So conservatively, 50 million new entrepreneurs in the next 10 years. We think it could be as high as 70 to 80 million because of looking at the displacement numbers, side gigging numbers. 40% of all Americans are going to be side gigging within the next 7 years. The U economy, all of these different things coming into play, 50 to 80 million new entrepreneurs. Now, here's the question. All right, this is where I'm going with all of this. Sorry. How do we prepare them? How do we serve them? Bricks and mortar is fine, but it's not realistic to serve 50 to 80 million new folks coming online. And this is not to mention the people that are listening to this show that you're already an entrepreneur, but you've got myriad ideas and new things that you want to create. Most of this stuff, you had to do it completely on your own. You didn't have things like we have here in Nashville, which is like the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, which does an amazing job. But the Nashville Entrepreneur Center, I dare to say we're not going to have 1,000 of those in the United States over the next 10 to 15 years. Not happening.
They can't scale it.
No, it's not scalable because it's darn good. Mm-hmm. It's amazing what they've done, but it's not scalable to be able to bring to the rural areas of people that want to take a dip in the entrepreneurial water. So, how do we prepare them? How do we serve them? How do we serve you, the person that's sitting in the back of the cab in Las Vegas right now that's listening to this show? How do we serve you that's driving down the street in Nashville, Tennessee, or in Dallas, in Charlotte, Spokane, wherever you are? How do we serve you if you're listening at home or you're listening to our podcast here and you're thinking, maybe this is my time. This is my time to take this idea and see if I I've got what it takes, to see if this idea has what it takes to make it. My time in the sun, right? How do we get ready? Well, we believe that there's certain entrepreneurial rights. There's 10 of them to be exact, so you can look forward to this in the future as we're going to be blogging about it and writing about it. It also is connected to our new software offering that'll hit the limelight, hit the light of day in somewhere around March of next year. But these entrepreneurial rights, the first one is my idea viable? You know, we can't tell you if your idea is viable, but you have the right to be competent and confident in your idea. I'll come back to that. The second one is, do I have the knowledge to execute? Do I have the appropriate training? There's myriad information out there on the web. All right, we've got information at IdeaShares University on ideashares.com, but we certainly don't have the market cornered. In fact, there's incredible resources out there. But you have the right to have the knowledge to go out there and execute. The next question is, do you have the tools that you need to execute? What do I mean by tools? I'm going to come back to that in a second and tell you about one or two of them. And do I have the guidance and advice that I need to execute? All right, that's number 4. And the number 5, do I have the team and service providers in order to execute? There's more, but if you don't have those 5 things, it's pretty darn hard to get started. We want to help you with each and every one of them. I'm going to start with number 1. Is my idea viable? And then go to number 3, do I have the tools that I need to execute? Well, what we did at ideashares.com is we created something called the IdeaSphere. If you go to ideashares.com today, if you join, it is free. There are no hidden costs. We're not going to bill you in the future. It's not a freemium model today, maybe in the future, but it's not a freemium model. It is free. You can go in and whatever kind of idea that you have, whether it's digital, it's physical, it's electrical, it's mechanical, intellectual, I don't care. We've got an assessment tool for you in the IdeaSphere. You join for free, and then you go and you take one of these tests. And you're going to get a score, and then you're going to get an analysis, 30 to 40-page SWOT analysis, that's going to give you why you scored what you did and what you should do next. All of this is codified. All of this is automatic. All of this is free at ideashares.com. So we did this for a couple of reasons, and then I'm going to celebrate, and I promise you, Craig, we're going to go to break. He keeps looking at me going, dude, we got to go to break here, but I'm on a roll, so let me keep going. So what we wanted to do is to make sure that there was a tool out there for people to not only become more competent, and I'm not talking about intelligence, I'm talking about understanding the realm that they're in and that they're venturing into, but then confident behind those ideas. And we knew if we can empower you to do that, then you have an option. Then you have the right to take the like Les likes to call it, the catalytic action, where you can step off the cliff. But we don't want you doing that until you've reached a level of competency and confidence behind your idea. So is my idea viable? Do I have the tools I need to execute those ideas? And that's just one of the ways that we want to help you at ideashares.com. So go there today and check it out. As we like to do every week, I want to celebrate the folks with the highest scores on the IdeaSphere of the week. We celebrate the top 3 each week. So last week, we're going to celebrate Emily with a score of 657. So congratulations, Emily. Great job. And so the second highest score of the week was Dave with a score of 666. Good job. And then the highest score of the week, score of 699, goes to Shane. Great job, Shane. Wish we could tell everybody what your idea is, but that would be a violation of Miniacs. And we'd never do that to you. So by the way, folks, if you go on and take the IdeaSphere assessment, you're not telling us what the idea is, by the way. So it's called dual anonymity. It's 100% safe. We just happen to have talked to this individual. We know what his idea is, and of course, we'd never tell you without his permission. So, folks, I encourage you to go there today. Go to ideashares.com. Start to exercise your entrepreneurial rights. Take the IdeaSphere. I don't care if you're a new entrepreneur or it's old hat. Go check this out. I promise you, you will be better as an entrepreneur. Your idea will be better on the other side of this free assessment. We got a great show today. Mitch Jaffe is going to be calling in, food accelerator, master entrepreneur, right here on ideashares.com, right here on IdeaShares Radio. We'll be right back, folks, right after these commercial messages. Don't go away.
IdeaShares Radio.
Hey, folks, this is Brian Church and Les Stouter from IdeaShares Radio, and we just want to encourage you to take a look at IdeaShares.com. If you've ever had an idea, whether the idea is service-based, whether it's intellectual, whether it's mechanical, it's electrical, or if it's even digital, if you've got an idea, we invite you to come to IdeaShares.com, test that idea on the proprietary IdeaSphere. We've got the IdeaSphere Digital, IdeaSphere Enterprise, and the original IdeaSphere to test anything that you can come up with. And then you're going to get a 30-page SWOT analysis giving you strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and every bit of it is free. So go to IdeaShares.com and test your idea today. Hey everyone, this is Brian Church with IdeaShares Radio, and I want to tell you about Pilgrim Consulting. We're one of their loyal clients, and we're proud and honored to welcome them as a show sponsor, and we couldn't be more impressed with their commitment to quality and excellence. See, Pilgrim works for you to understand your business, your goals, and to solve your problems. Mobile app development, web-based applications, and large website development projects are their specialty, and boy do they know what they're doing. Check them out at pilgrimconsulting.com or call 615-236-6868.
IdeaShares Radio. Innovate on.
This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song. My power's turned.
And welcome back to IdeaShares Radio, the nation's airwave incubator for entrepreneurs, innovators, and closely held business owners, and intellectual property holders, and inventors, and folks that just want to start a dadgum good business. How about that? Welcome back, folks. It's time for the Les Stouter Need to Know segment. So, again, if you haven't, experienced Les Stouter before, if it's your first time joining us here, feel free to check him out at IdeaShares.com. He's a regular contributor to the Huffington Post, as well as some other great outlets where smart people are read. Often not heard, but smart people are read. Check him out. But what we usually do is to take a hodgepodge of the different things that he sees throughout the week or throughout the month. And we'd like to really educate me. So I'm not going to go as far as to say we're going to educate you all. But hey, it's about information and making sure that you're empowered, and so I often get a lot out of it. So without further ado, Les, sir, what do we need to know?
Well, your energy level today is phenomenal, I have to say.
Well, man, I'm excited.
Yeah, I know.
We got some cool stuff going on.
We do.
The people that are joining the tribe, it's just exciting.
Yeah.
It's just the beginning, because the entrepreneurial growth that's going to happen in this country, for good reasons, is incredible.
And the meetings,
awe-inspiring.
It is. And the meetings you and I have attended behind the scenes, it's also awe-inspiring.
Well, there's Enoch Elwell and the Co-Starters Conference that we were at a while back in Chattanooga. When you see what's happening, and yeah, we're on the airwaves here in some larger cities and some nice mid-market towns, and but what's happening in rural America is exciting. And what's happening in large cities is exciting too.
That's not in the least bit surprising to me, because of basically the logistics. When you think about it, the rural areas have less of a support mechanism. They have less opportunity. Therefore, as things begin to turn in the digital age, they're the first ones faced with making big decisions.
Well, and we're going to help you out.
Yeah,
within the next 6 months, we're going to have a new offering that we'll begin to talk about probably in 3 to 4 months. That takes the IdeaShares.com virtual incubator to a whole nother level. And if you think the IdeaSphere is awesome, wait till you see the other 5 digital products that we're going to be rolling out in a dashboard that allows you to incubate wherever you are.
That's
we're
right.
Really excited about it.
Where we're taking IdeaShares University to an entirely new level. You're going to be very excited about that. We really have a lot of good stuff to offer you now, but wait until then.
wait until then. Les,
And
what do we need to know?
Well,
What do we
toward
need-
that end, there is I came across an article in the at IPWatchdog.com that sort of encapsulates what you and I have talked about pretty much since day one, and I like it a lot. So feel free, as you always do, to chime in here and let us know your thoughts. But it's called Inventing to Solve Problems, right? And it says sometimes inventors get so caught up in the creation aspect of inventing that they fail to stop and ask whether or not they should be investing the time, money, and energy into that creation. How many times have we talked about that, Brian?
Well, no, it's true. And you say, hey, you invited me to chime in. Sorry. So
No, please
but
do.
You know what we see all the time. And I was just training some young entrepreneurs this last week. And one of the things I went through with them was, you have to solve a problem. But you have to solve a problem that people want solved. And you also have to solve a problem that people want solved, and enough people want it solved. And then you have to offer it at a realistic price. Okay? All of those things have to happen. And unfortunately, some people just say, oh my gosh, I've got a problem to solve here, and I can solve that problem. But, just make sure that you're not the only one that wants that problem solved.
That's right. And you know what, folks? Brian does not have this article sitting in front of him. So the beginning of the next paragraph says, the key to making money with innovation is to be able to solve a problem that will lead to a product or service that others will be willing to pay for.
Exactly.
Imagine that. Look, guys, if consumers aren't willing to pay for what you've invented or what you've come up with, then you're probably going to want to move on to the next idea, and surely you have more than one, right?
Yeah.
Most people do. Serial inventors, serial innovators, entrepreneurs have more than one idea. In fact, Brian and I can't shut it off.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, as long as you're working hard on that illumination side of it, you exercise the prefrontal cortex piece of the brain, keep doing it. This won't be your last idea. So don't get married to one idea.
That's right. And this kind of dovetails into that bucket system that you and I have talked about over time.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, if you have multiple ideas, then basically, first of all, you want to categorize and classify them. Some you're going to want to keep, some you're going to want to give away, some you're going to want to trash.
Yep.
It's just the way it is. And how do you logistically manage that? Well, you do so by saying, okay, I'm going to start this one. This is a keeper. This is in my bucket. And I'm going to work it up to this point, and now I'm at a standstill, so I'm going to take this idea, which is also classified in my bucket, and I'm going to work on that one. And so you basically serially invent, if you will, and move from one idea to the next and let one mature into your next invention.
Yep.
That's basically how it works. So,
That's
I mean,
right.
after all, you will not only have to get consumers to pay for your product or service, but they'll need to be willing to pay a premium to make it worthwhile. If you have any margins, and if you don't, stop immediately.
Exactly.
Do not invest resources. Move on. So we want to encourage inventors to learn lessons from the great inventors. And, who better than that than the good old Thomas Edison? He famously learned early in his career that inventing for the sake of inventing is not something that's going to lead to riches. Although I have to say it is rewarding. It's fun for me.
It is. Look, we run with a group of folks. I mean, we're idea geeks, okay? And that's what qualifies us to have a radio show on entrepreneurialism and invention. And, well, we're idea geeks, We're like a lot of you out there, and probably heavier emphasis on the geek side than a lot of you.
Yeah, but geeks rule the world after all. Remember that.
They do.
But the thing is one of Edison's famous quotes or whatever is he vowed to never again invent anything without first researching and determining that there would actually be a demand for what he was inventing. So again, let's learn the lessons from the people that have really made a major dent in our society, not just in America either, but globally. So while science and innovation is for the sake of obtaining knowledge, is that something that we as a society want to invest in? I think so.
Yeah.
And where are we right now? This is why it dovetails into what we're talking about, because we just talked about, entrepreneurs. We just talked about the percentages that are increasing in the first segment. And basically, what are you doing? You're investing and inventing into that system.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be some some Grand Slam home run at the bottom of the ninth in the World Series kind of idea. It just needs to be something that'll move the needle, an improvement on an existing product, for example.
Yeah, no, it's
something that's greater convenience.
Exactly. We and I won't mention his name. I work with a young entrepreneur, and I say young. I mean, he's late 20s. I mean, so this guy's ready for prime time, but that's young. I'm 41 now. Some people would say that's young, doesn't feel young.
It's young to me.
But I'm dealing with him. He's on to his third idea, okay? And I just love the way this guy thinks. But each idea is getting more and more practical. I mean, the first one it wasn't cold fusion, but it was like cold fusion. And it's like, look, man, maybe the science works, but you're going to need millions upon millions of dollars. Let's start with something that's practical, man.
You're tracking perfectly here, because in this very next paragraph, it says university laboratories is where science for the sake of science should go on.
Yeah.
Right? Where they have the resources and the bandwidth or whatever to do it, but not in the garages of inventors and innovators. You simply can't afford to engage in those kind of pursuits.
Right. Solve something for your husband, your wife. Solve something that, we talk a lot about context. So in the context of your everyday world, things that are going on, there's so many problems out there that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Solve one of those problems in a practical way. All right. And then, of course, we have things like the Idea Sphere. And you'll get a shot to speak to one of our scouts if you finish an Idea Sphere test. And we'll go back and forth with you and help you think through some of these ideas. But start in the more of the practical. Now, I do not want to water on anybody's garden that is trying to do, the unbelievable. Okay. That's not what we're saying,
No.
because that's where amazing things come from. But if you are looking as a U-economy side gig answer to developing more income for your house, start by solving problems or providing services that are within the practical realm that solve a problem, not just inventing for inventing's sake.
Right. And build it one brick at a time.
Yeah.
You don't get ahead of yourselves. The thing of it is, and what we need to remember is, there's plenty of ideas. I used to keep a list. I still do, and it's fun every once in a while to go back over that list and look down it and say, "Oh, I saw this on a commercial the other day.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw that one too. Oh, this one's been solved. Oh, here's one that hasn't been solved."
Yeah.
And it just honestly, if you put yourself into a position of doing that and get into that habit, what you're going to find is there are a lot of opportunities out there you never even thought about.
It's never ending. There's a never ending, chasm of problems for you to go and solve.
That's right.
That's what's exciting about it.
Ecosystem.
Ecosystem,
It's
yeah.
out there.
Hey, we'll be right back. Don't go away, folks. And we got a great show. 2 more segments left. Mitch Jaffe, Food Accelerator, Master Entrepreneur, is going to be joining us here this afternoon. So don't go away. We'll be right back on the nation's airwave incubator for entrepreneurs, innovators, and intellectual property holders.
Idea Shares Radio. Idea Shares Radio. Innovate on.
I'm waking up, feeling my bones, enough to make my system blow. Welcome to the new age, welcome to the new age,
And welcome to the new age, and welcome back to Idea Shares Radio. The founders of IdeaShares.com got together a few years ago and said, hey, you know what? We need to start putting things on the web that were going to extensively help entrepreneurs. And then we came up with a radio show that you're listening to right now. I don't care where you are, man. You could be in Las Vegas. You could be in Atlanta. You could be in Charlotte. You could be in Dallas. You could be in Spokane. You could be in Nashville. Dublin, Ireland.
With iHeart, you could be in
You could be
Timbuktu.
anywhere. You could be in Birmingham. You could
right.
be in Chattanooga. You could be in, hey, I could name cities all week, all day here. And but we don't need to do that. Let's keep rolling. But we are building this show to try and bring resources to you and great guests on that are going to add value. And that's why I'm excited about the guests that we have today. So Mitchell Jaffe. So Mitch Jaffe, he's the CEO of Prep Cook. And Prep, Cook, Create, Connect, that's their slogan. I said earlier, which I'm sure, Mitch, I'm just going to have to apologize to you. This is probably not accurate. I call it a food accelerator.
I like that. I like that. That's a good badge. I'll take that.
Yeah, right. So, but with Mitch on the show today, I think we're going to get a lot of value out of this, and so I'm excited about it. And let me just tell you a little bit about Mitch, just formally. So, he's the Prep founder. He's CEO, CFO. Brings a very unique combination of analytical, business, and creative skills to the executive team there, but also just to the entrepreneurial community. Based out of Atlanta, he's run numerous, many successful turnkey commercial development projects, condominium developments, income property turnarounds, and he's a serial entrepreneur. He's been responsible for the construction and development of Prep's facility, which we're going to tell you more about, and the base of operations. In addition, he will lead Prep's executive team and use his vast experience running numerous businesses by acting as Prep's CFO. So let's talk about Mitch. Hey, first off, thanks for being on the show, brother.
No, thank you. I appreciate your time.
You know, and one of the things we talk about, Mitch, is encouraging people to walk slowly through the crowds. And what that means is you never know who you're going to meet.
That's right.
And so normally, in the nature of my business, I get on an airplane and I don't like to talk about what I do all the time, because as soon as you say you run an incubator and accelerator, we love the fact and we celebrate the fact everybody has an idea, but it doesn't mean that we want to talk about it for 2 hours on an airplane.
That's why I tell everybody. I sell shoes.
That's a mini hostage situation.
That's right. As Les says, that's why he tells people he sells shoes. And but look, it is, and but I'm glad that it was you or I turned around and said, hey, so what do you do for a living? And as you began to tell me about Prep, and I told you about Idea Shares, it was kindred spirits, and we had a nice hour-long conversation, and then we both knew when to shut up and listen to music or whatever we had left to do. But that's the importance, of walking slowly through the crowds, because you never know when you're going to be sitting next to a Mitch Jaffe. And so, Mitch, thanks for being on the show.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about Prep. So what is Prep? Give me the elevator pitch there.
Sure. Prep is a facility that provides food entrepreneurs a launching pad for their business. Basically, three main industries that we serve. You've got your specialty food producers, and they could be either under the USDA or, in our case, Georgia Department of Agriculture. And that means anything you see on your shelf that you would buy at your Whole Foods, your Sprouts, your Publix, your Kroger, sauces, marinades, salts, ice cream, you name it, ginger ale, kombucha. It goes on and on. We have about 55 of those companies based out of our facility.
Wow, 55. So that's a lot more than just the last time when we talked.
Yeah, and then we also provide the infrastructure for the catering community. Your traditional caterers, a few of those, your traditional caterer that might deal with events like weddings and stuff, they're a little bit erratic, and their particular business plan is tough to fit into a facility where people steadily produce and work shoulder to shoulder. But under the word caterer, you have people that produce a certain amount of meals here every day to be delivered around the city of Atlanta, hot and cold, and they fall under the designation as a caterer.
Wow.
And then the third group of entrepreneurs that we deal with is the mobile food service. We're the largest food truck commissary in the South, and we currently have 27 food trucks based out of our facility. So we've created all these an environment for all these companies to come and limit their capital infusion, get a ton of services, get permit-ready facilities, don't get caught up in facility management, and their capital. Their capital they need to launch their business or to accelerate their business. A lot of companies come to us after being in business a year or two and want to go to the next level. So we have a host of other services that we provide, including we handle all their food and supply procurement, and we a lot of marketing initiatives that we drop in their lap.
Cool.
We also bring in a lot of third-party experts to come in and train these people and assist them.
Well, that's
Whether-
what. Yeah. And sorry, that's one of the coolest things that I got out of this was, first off, very imaginative that you would start, and I'm not dumbing it down to this, but shared office space for
Sure.
people who prepare food. I mean,
Sure.
that's awesome. Because one of the biggest drawbacks to starting for those of you folks who are listening out there that want to create something in the food service world, whether it's a truck, restaurant, whatever, you're preparing ingredients or food on the go. You're preparing ingredients on a daily basis, and that space, and also the codes that you have to keep right in order to be
Right.
able to execute this is not really scalable, and sometimes is very cost prohibitive. And what you've done is you are helping to scale the local community of food service providers, and I thought that was cool. But then to put it into an incubator and accelerator construct where you are actually helping them build their businesses is really phenomenal. I mean, this is pretty disruptive. How is this disrupting the community in a good way, right? So because disruption is a good thing. How are you disrupting and changing the food industry?
Well, so for many years, your small food entrepreneur that has an idea, sorry to give a very simplistic example. Somebody
That's
finds grandma's cookie recipe in the attic, thinks it's the greatest thing, but doesn't know how to get it to the store shelves. Previously, they would work in the shadows. They would bake out of their house. They would bake out of their church kitchen. They would maybe moonlight at a restaurant kitchen. None of those options are legal, by the way. Under the Department of Agriculture in our state and in many other states, it has to be produced in a very controlled environment with lots of food safety concerns, packaging approvals, and food handling is a big part of it. So how the ingredients are procured, how they're assembled, and then how the final product is taken to the store. So when the store, like your Whole Foods, wants to carry grandma's cookie, they want to make sure, first of all, it's being produced in a commercial kitchen. So
Right.
prior to this, that entrepreneur kept hitting his head on the ceiling and didn't have a place to go, didn't know how to go from where he was now. He could probably go to your local farmer's market and maybe sell a few, start selling them to your friends, maybe some restaurant owners that he knew that didn't, really want, kept it in the gray area. But really, if you want a shot at being the next Chobani or the next Kind Bar or something of that scale, you have to start somewhere, and you have to start with compliance.
Yeah, that's great. Well, look, I think it's an incredible idea, and you're certainly, at 50 now, in the facility in your
So
program.
we got 110 total companies out of here.
Wow,
Yeah,
110.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, you're changing the landscape of what's going on in Atlanta, and from knowing you a short time, I think we can all rest assured that you're going to be changing the landscape of what's happening across the country, and so we're excited to hear more about Prep. But the serial entrepreneur that you are, we've got a few more questions for you here today that I think our listeners are going to be able to grab some value out of. So, folks, don't go away. We're going to be right back with Mitch Jaffe here on Idea Shares Radio.
Idea Shares Radio.
Hey, folks, this is Brian Church and Les Stouter from Idea Shares Radio, and we just want to encourage you to take a look at ideashares.com. If you've ever had an idea, whether the idea is service-based, whether it's intellectual, whether it's mechanical, it's electrical, or if it's even digital, if you've got an idea, we invite you to come to ideashares.com, test that idea on the proprietary IdeaSphere. We've got the IdeaSphere Digital, IdeaSphere Enterprise, and the original IdeaSphere to test anything that you can come up with. And then you're going to get a 30-page one-page SWOT analysis giving you strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and every bit of it is free. So go to ideashares.com and test your idea today. Hey folks, this is Brian Church, and we are excited to welcome our newest sponsor to IdeaShares Radio, Waller, Lansden, Dortch, and Davis. Established in 1905, Waller has a history of representing entrepreneurs and industry-leading companies. Waller has developed a fast-track program that assists new and emerging companies with protecting their intellectual property, structuring fundraising, and avoiding legal problems that can prevent you from reaching your goals. To learn more about Waller, go to www.wallerlaw.com.
Idea Shares Radio. Innovate on.
And welcome back to IdeaShares Radio, America's airwave incubator for entrepreneurs, innovators, and intellectual property holders. Folks, we got Mitch Jaffe, not really in the house. He's calling in from Atlanta, so one of our sister cities. But Mitch, thanks for sharing, with us the idea behind PrEP. Where did this come from, by the way? What was the context behind this when you started it?
I think like any idea that gains some steam, it comes from demand and solving a problem. And in our city and in many other cities that we want to expand to, there's a definite need to rein in what the food entrepreneur is going through as far as facilities, compliance,
Right.
and support. So it was demand-driven. We identified the demand after about 2.5 years of research and layered it in with the different regulatory agencies to come up with what we did.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you're used to that environment, right? So the context of you doing this is you're used to that environment as a contractor and as somebody that, basically is put together successful development after development. And I applaud you because this is what we need. I mean, this is you see a problem, right, folks? You have to see a problem but see a problem that people need fixed. That's number one.
Yeah.
And then go out there and try to fix that problem, but make sure it's a problem also that not people don't only want, but it's a lot of people that want it. And you have to do it and be able to give it at a price that is palatable. And then hopefully for you and your business and the viability of the entire thing is it scalable, but also can you make money at doing it, and are your margins going to be healthy? And we won't go into that today, but I've got a couple other questions for you, Mitch. But before we do that, how do people reach out to you if they want to learn more about PrEP?
We have a website. It's prepatl.com. That's prepatl.com. We can also be reached at 404-920-4150.
Great.
And
super. Well, Mitch, in the construct of what you're doing, so as I called it earlier, which I'm sure just bastardizes what you guys do, but shared
not
office
so far.
space.
You're batting 1,000. You're fine. Thank you.
So shared office space / accelerator for food service companies. Okay. So as you do that, I mean, you're getting a chance to see all types of entrepreneurs. What simple advice can you offer our listeners?
Sure. First of all, do your homework. Be methodical. Do your homework. Write a business plan, and go out there and talk to the people who will buy your product before you start committing to a new lifestyle or to committing to a facility, whether it be my facility or your own facility. Before you start laying out all that capital, get out there and really answer all the questions. Sometimes you're not going to hear the answers that you want, but it might change how you construct your own business plan.
Yeah.
We've had plenty of businesses come here that are completely buttoned up, but we also have some that change on the fly after a lot of interaction with us, and it makes them a more profitable, more focused business. The more that you can do up front while you're not blowing money, the better. The last one for sure is don't go into anything undercapitalized.
Yeah.
It just creates so much strain from the beginning. Recognize the amount of capital that you need to do your business, and then put a layer on top.
First and foremost, evaluate.
Yeah,
We preach that here.
and I love what you said there. And you can't have a completely rigged game, okay? But
Right.
we like a rigged game. And what you said
Right.
was you had the information, you had people that were willing to give you money for the problem that you were solving long before you solved the problem. And at least at a minimum, evaluate as much as possible. And look, friends and family are good evaluators, but that is not the only level of evaluation that we want you to undergo. And Mitch didn't say that, I said that, but I'm sure Mitch would agree.
Yeah, I do. I do. There's a common theme amongst the successful entrepreneurs that in the food industry, and I guess it would apply to most entrepreneurs. Number one, you can't be afraid of the hard work. You can't be afraid of working half days, 6 days a week. Remember, 24 hours are
That's
in a
right.
day,
Half days, 12 hours a day. Right.
right.
Very
all
common.
that stuff. But understand your market, and I forgot one thing. Understand your cost of goods. Don't fool yourself on the cost of goods. Really do some research on what your cost of goods is.
Yeah, it's good. Hey, real quick, and I mean real quick, what's the worst mistake that you ever made as an entrepreneur? I told you I was going to ask you that.
Yeah. I went into a business purely for family reasons. So it sounds
Sorry,
altruistic. I
I'm
did this
laughing with you.
many years ago, and it was like lighting money on fire in a trash can. And I learned a lesson. I would have done better just writing checks to my family instead of because the idea was not vetted. It was more about the passion of helping the family.
Yeah,
And it was it's hard for me to say that, honestly.
Well, that's why we that's why we ask this question, because we have our failures. Les and I do. We've got an abundance of them.
Well, honestly, if that's the worst mistake you've made, then that's pretty good.
Well,
Mitch.
it's noble, but I'm sure it hurt.
It was
and
it was noble, and it really was like a 2x4 to the head. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I get it. But, hey, Mitch, thanks for being on the show, buddy. I really appreciate it. Folks, if you got anything, out of what Mitch said today, and I got a lot, just get this: it's okay to go after the rigged game. And on this show, what we do is we encourage people to step out of the shadows, step into the light, get your opportunity in the sun as an entrepreneur. But we want you to do it with competence, and we want you to do it with confidence. Feel free to go and assess your ideas completely for free at ideashares.com and through the Ideasphere. I want to thank Mitch Jaffe for being on the show. Thank my buddy Les for another great show here. Thank you, Craig, our engineer. Folks, we'll see you, or you'll hear us, next week on IdeaShares Radio.